In this lecture, I want to talk about the get member function again, but I also want to introduce put and putback. Now remember, with the get member function, if we pass it an argument, it's going to write what it extracts to that argument character. Also, if you remember, with the stream extraction operator, some things are done for us automatically, such as it will skip blanks. The operation is basically going to stop when it reads white space, so in other words, a space. Now that can be useful if you want to read input in that way, separating data with a space. But with the get member function, if you want to skip over those spaces, then you must actually write some code that will discard those white spaces. For this example, I have this characters.txt file with these characters in there, and you can see that those are put on a new line with the new line character, or in other words, pressing enter. Then in the main file, I have these includes again iostream and fstream because we are going to use ifstream. Alright, so I have an ifstream object here, and I'm going to open that characters.txt file. We're going to check if that is open. Then down here I have some characters, C1 through to C5. Then I'm actually going to use instream.get. Now of course we can use .get on cin, the cin stream as we have seen before, but I'm demonstrating this here on this characters.txt file here and using the instream object. Then I pass in C1, C2, C3, so it's going to read those characters, and then I'm going to print those 3 characters out. Finally, I'm closing the file to disassociate that particular file with the object. So you may want to pause the video for a second to think about what the output is going to be. Again, this is the input file that we are reading from, and we are reading, or basically extracting the first 3 characters, right? Okay, so I'll build a run here. We actually get AB printed out, and then it looks like we get a new line here, and then we get end of program. So what's happening is, of course, it's actually reading that new line. Remember, we have a new line here. You press enter, that inserts a new line into this file. And the same thing with a space. So if we have a space here, it's actually going to read A space and B, right? So I'm going to save that, build a run again. Now we get A space and B. So remember that get is going to read the spaces and the new line characters as well. It's not like the stream extraction operator. This here is the stream insertion operator, but of course the extraction operator, when you do cin, the extraction operator, that operation is going to stop when it sees that space character. I'll just go and revert that and save. Then what I'll do is I will copy this line, so we will read, or in other words get, one more character, and I will also make sure to print that character out, build and run. Now we get AB, the new line character, and C put out to the console. Alright, so that is just to demonstrate the fact that the get function is going to actually read spaces and also new lines. Alright, I'd also like to demonstrate the put member function, because that is basically the inverse of get. It's going to put out. So the get member function is going to extract, and put is going to insert into a stream. For demonstration purposes, I will put out the first 4 characters here, build and run, and as before we get A, B and C, but we also get the new line put out as well. So AB, new line, and then C. And that's a quick demonstration on the put member function. Again, a get is going to extract from the input stream. Put is going to insert into an output stream. In this next example, I'm including iostream and string, and then in the main function, I'm prompting the user to enter a word. Then I want to test to see if that whatever the user entered is actually a word instead of a number. So we want to test and see if the first character is a number or not. And we can do that by having this number here, character C, and we do cn.get to get the first character within the input stream. Then we do this test. If that is a number, so the character C is between 0 and or equal to 0 and 9, then between those characters, then we have an incorrect input and we are going to terminate the program. Then next we have a standard string. We use getLine and we have cin for the stream in this example, and then we pass in that string. So we are going to store the characters, going to extract the characters from cin and store those in the string variable, and then we're going to print that string out you entered and then string. If we build a run now and we enter a word such as, or I'll actually just enter hello for example, press enter, and we don't get the H now, and you can think for a second why that is. Well, remember we used get here. We want to test for a number, so if the first character is a number, we have to test that somehow, and we can use get for that. Remember that this is going to return the first character, the next character in the stream. Now, we store that in C, the C character, and of course that is then extracted from that input stream. It no longer exists within that input stream, and that is why where we have this get line, we store that in string, that character is no longer within that input stream. So to fix that, we can do that in two ways. We can use the standard cn unget member function, alright, and this unget is going to make that previous character that we extracted here, that is going to put that back into the stream, so in this case cn, so it's going to make that character, that extracted character available to that cn stream again. So if we build and run again, enter hello, notice that we get that H back, so H was basically put back into the stream. Now we do actually have a putback function as well. As you can see, we get a red squiggly here. This actually takes in an argument, and for this we can specify the character that we want to put back. So in this case we want to put back whatever is stored in C. We want to put whatever we have extracted here, which we have saved in C, we want to put that back into the cin stream, and then we do this get line, and then we print that out. So build and run, and as you can see that works fine as well. However, we can actually put something else in here, put back, put some other character in there such as B, build and run, and as you can see that now changes that. It's actually going to put this B back into the stream instead of what we had previously. And that is basically the difference with putback and unget, because with putback we can specify the character that we want to put back. So that is a look at unget and putback. To summarize what we've talked about in this lecture, we have discussed get previously. This is going to extract and return a single character. So for a use case, we can have a character, some character C, and then we can do standard cn.get, and that is going to return a single character from that input stream, in this case cin. So with this, as we've seen, we can do test on that to see if the user entered a word, and inversely, from the example, we can test to see if the user entered a number or not. Maybe we want the user to enter a number instead of a word. So instead of checking if it is a number, we can check if it is not a number, and in that case throw an error. As we've seen before, get also has a signature which allows us to provide an argument. The get member function is then going to assign the extracted character to the argument character variable. Now we also have the put member function. This is going to insert the argument character into the stream. You can do cout.put for example. Then we also have unget, which is also a member function, and this is going to make the last extracted character available to the input stream. We have cin.unget, for example. Finally, we also have the putback member function, which is going to make the C character, so the argument, available to the input stream. And we've seen this in an example, so we have some character C, and we can put back C, or we can put back whatever other character we may want. And this gives us quite some flexibility with what we can do and how we can manipulate our input and output, so we have some additional flexibility with this. Let's wrap up this lecture with an exercise. For this exercise, I have this file here, numbers.txt, and it contains some numbers here. It can be more than 3 numbers. It currently contains these 3 numbers separated by spaces, right? And so when I build and run this program, it should do a couple of things. Firstly, it will only read the first number to begin with, and it's going to display that. So up until the first space. Then following that, it's going to read and print out the remainder of the file. Alright, so for an example, I will build and run. I have some output here, the numbers are. Then it's going to read and print out only that first number, so up until we reach the first space. And then it's going to read and print out the rest of the file. So I have and then here, the string, and then it's going to read the rest of the file. Notice the space is in here, but that's actually from the file as well, right? So that's this space right here. So for this exercise, I want you to write the following program. Firstly, the program is going to read only the first number from a file that can contain multiple multi-character numbers separated with the space character. Right, so you can have multiple numbers in there, and the program is then going to print that number out. The program is going to print that first number out to the console or to another file. Following that, it's going to read and print out what is left in the file. For example, you want to print out that space, but also the rest of the numbers. An example printout would be the first number, so xxx. On the next line, we have and then you have the rest of the contents in that file, where xxx represents some number, right? So go ahead and try this now, and when we come back, I will show you my solution. Of course, your solution does not have to match mine exactly. Alright, so let's look at my solution. Yours again might look a bit different. I have this file, numbers.txt, with these numbers in here, separated by spaces. Then in the main file, I include iostream and fstream. Then I have an ifstream object and input stream. In stream, I open that numbers file. Of course, you can go an extra step and then prompt the user for an input file. I'm going to check here if that is open. Next, I will do this print out the numbers are, and then we are going to read up to but not including the first space. I have a next character, just some character here, and I'm going to get that next character. Your program will have to read the first space, otherwise how will we stop reading? We need to test against something, right? One issue with this is that some other part of the program might need to read that space. To solve this problem, we can use putback and pass in the next variable, which at that point in the program execution will contain the character that we want to test against to stop reading it. The putback function will then put the argument back into the input stream. Then we do while next is not equal to this space right here. To print it out, I'm going to do cout.put, and then we want to do get again to get the next character. Alright, so as soon as the space character is read, it's going to exit this while loop. And in that way, we read the first number, right? Then secondly, we want to print out the remainder of that file, whatever is in that file. So that is where this simple example comes in here. We may need to process the space somewhere else in the program. Okay, again, this is a simple example, but it can be a bit more complicated in a production environment. But this is an example and the use case of where you might use putback. So we do stream, so the input stream putback, then I pass in next. I want to put back that space that we have checked for here. So here when we reach the space, of course the space is going to be stored in the next variable. And so we put that space back in the input stream. Then I simply do a space and I print out and then. You can do it all in one line, it really doesn't matter here. This was just for demonstration, so I have that on a new line. And then while that input stream.get next, I print out the next character. Finally, I close that file off, build a run, and we see the numbers are 247, and then we get the rest of the contents in the file, including the space. So of course, this can also be a new line character. And then in the case where you do a new line here instead of a space, maybe we can try that. Build a run. And now notice that the new line character is red over here as well. And then instead of a space, we get a new line. So again, this offers you some flexibility with how you manipulate things in your input. You can get things, you can undo the get by using putback or unget. Alright, so I hope you found this interesting and useful. Just some more demonstrations on the get member function and also introducing putback and some of the other functions as well, such as unget, for example, and put. Alright, I will see you next time.